nurturing, and keeping. Now, essentially, you need to learn about an individual to actually be able to figure out how they tick, what makes them work, what is it that they're really interested in. And through that, you're investing time in them. As you invest time, you start to learn about the person, you start to build a relationship, and you need to nurture that relationship. If you cut it off, then obviously you're not going to maintain that relationship. So by nurturing it, by putting in, by keeping in contact with the individual and constantly learning and investing in them, you get to keep the relationship. So quite an interesting and short acronym just to remember on that one. So looking at your networking capital, Stephen Covey's emotional bank account is a fantastic tool to sort of help you with this, and it does come into play in all different elements of your life. Some of you might have heard of this, some of you may be familiar, others this could be totally new to you. So what exactly is the bank account? Well, it's very similar to an actual financial bank account where you put your money. So you can make deposits of money, you can make withdrawals from your bank. It's the very same, you're putting in emotions into the bank account. So it's all underpinned to your relationships. And knowing the person that you have your bank account with will really help you decide or learn a bit better what is classed as a deposit and what is classed as a withdrawal. So this will make sense hopefully on the next slide. But if we think about it, you have relationships with lots of different people, with your peers, with your academics, with managers, with your friends. And you hold bank accounts with every single one of those. Everyone's got bank accounts with everyone else. The only way that you can figure out what the other person classifies as a withdrawal or a deposit is by getting to know that person better. So, next slide. Here we basically have a balance sheet, much like you may have for withdrawals and deposits from your finances. But this is going to be your emotional bank account. And knock this together with a couple of colleagues here to try and find out really what makes me tick, what do I actually like in people. I'd recommend this is something that you could maybe pilot yourself to see what it is that actually, what is your emotional bank account and how do you perceive the actions of others. It's all happening quite subconsciously as you go along with your life. So for me, one of the things that I really like is people that are polite, people that greet you in the morning, maybe coming into the office, someone's holding the door open if they see I'm coming up the steps. I see that as politeness, so I quite like that. And that's going down in one of my positives. That's definitely a deposit from that person. They may not know they've done that, but they've definitely made a deposit into my emotional bank account with them. Similarly, people that are rude, that's going to be a negative for me. People who will quite happily watch me walk up the flight of stairs carrying lots of files and folders. They've just gone through the door, they could hold it open, but they let it slam in my face. That's definitely going to be seen probably by most people as kind of rude, and it's probably going to go in your negatives there. Likewise, in conversations, everyone's probably been in a conversation area with a few friends chatting away, and someone just keeps cutting in all the time. They're just interrupting you. It's perceived probably by you as being a little bit rude. So for me, that sort of goes down in one of my negative areas. But I do like people that smile. Again, it's coming back to happy, chirpy. A smile doesn't cost anything, so that's going into my positives. Someone that remembers my name, if I've met them at a business-to-business conference, or I've met them somewhere on campus, at an event, in a meeting, if they remember my name next time, that's a great positive. It's good to be remembered by people. So I like that. That goes in my positives there. Also, if they remember personal details. So the last time I saw someone, maybe I told them I was going on vacation. The next time I see them, a couple of weeks, months down the line, oh, how was your vacation? So if I know you were going to XYZ place, how was that? So they're remembering things about me. They're investing and nurturing into my bank account. Also, people that share some information. Ultimately, for me, I'm in networking to try and find some business contacts, to find out who can help me, but to be able to put back into that and share the information. So I'm liking people who want to share information with me and that I can give back to. There is also the downside to this, which can be sharing too much. Now, everyone's probably been in a situation where out of politeness, you've maybe walked into a kitchen, it's been filled with lots of people in there, you're like, oh, morning, how are you? And you get the lifelong story of how their weekend went, that their pet's ill, that they've broken up in a relationship, etc. All you really were doing was kind of the politeness to go in there, but you're getting their life story back from them. So it could be classed as maybe sharing too much, but also maybe from the way that you've asked that question, have you invited those sorts of responses as well. So it's all balancing those relationships and how much information you're wanting to get and how much you're wanting to put in. And one thing which I found really does sort of kind of irritate me quite a bit in the business-to-business networking environment especially, is people who just want to speak to me to get my leads, my business contacts that I have, people that I've been working with. And if they're just after that and they're not really investing, not nurturing anything else, I'm starting to find that as a little bit of a negative for me. It's taken the effort to build up those relationships. I'm not going to share with people until I actually trust them and know how they're going to be using the links that I've got. So it comes back to those 3 pillars that we spoke about. And the most important thing to remember here is only the account manager, so each individual knows exactly what is a deposit and what's a withdrawal for each relationship that they have. So what might be seen for you as something which is, well, that's got to be a positive, might not necessarily be a positive for someone else. For example, myself personally, we ran a session a while ago with an organization, and as a thank you, we provided the speaker with a bottle of wine as a gesture of goodwill. We thought that was quite a nice thing to do. Here's a bottle of wine. Thanks very much for coming along. They graciously accepted it and thanked us, spoke to us afterwards, though, and said, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm actually teetotal. I don't drink alcohol. So what we thought was quite a nice thing turned out that actually they'd taken it a little bit as a sort of, maybe not necessarily an insult, but we had to be very careful in the way that we sort of judge these things, as you never know what someone's perceiving as a positive or a negative. Another example, company that I've heard of, that essentially their CEO purchased a sports car for the Employee of the Week. So it was an incentive up in London, nice sports car for the organisation, for the employees there to work towards. What he didn't realise, though, is that the majority of the employees didn't actually want the sports car, mainly because the majority didn't actually have driving licences or didn't want to drive cars because they lived in central London, they relied on the tube network. You've got the expense of having the car in London. Also, the area where they were living, they necessarily didn't want to take a nice posh sports car back home and park it outside an area which maybe wasn't the most desirable place. They felt they were sort of showing off. So an example of how what's perceived by one person to be a very positive input can be seen by others as quite negatives into the bank accounts there. So moving on then to networking opportunities that exist. As postgraduate students, there are lots of opportunities that are out there. Firstly, you've got your peers. So if it's in your research groups, in supervisionary groups, etc. If you're master's students, you may be attending lectures. There's people within there that you can network with. As research students, you have your supervisors and your PIs. You can speak with them and sort of see, well, what opportunities are there out there? You may not necessarily be asking them for the links and the people to speak to, but asking them what sort of environment should you be attending to sort of meet other people. You'll also have your student unions, postgraduate societies, and coffee mornings, these sorts of things. All interdepartmental work and interdisciplinary collaboration, an ideal opportunity to meet and speak with your peers. Also got the opportunity probably to attend conferences where everyone going has a common theme. It will be the area of the conference. That's something you immediately have in common. Then you can build on that sort of mutual understanding and sort of get to meet people through that. You'll also have your alumni networking events, either at the institution you're at the moment as you go forward in your postgraduate studies, or potentially from universities that you might have attended before. You'll have networks that are out there. Range of professional and student associations. These exist in all sorts of different subject areas. There's various associations for postgraduates to join and for academics. There's also professional bodies in the vast majority of cities in the UK. For example, the Junior Chamber International is a young business person's networking event. It does skills development training, and they also offer introductory networking sessions to meet other people in similar positions to yourself in a very relaxed and informal manner. To get out there and start meeting employers, you'll probably find lots of career fairs taking place on campus. So it's a way to go and meet employers there, speak to them, tell them who you are, have your elevator pitch ready, which I'll speak about in a few slides' time. There may also be networking events run by your career service in specific sectors, so the environment, engineering, bioscience, for example. There may be opportunities then to go and speak directly with employers who are there to get information from you. Places where you've worked in the past, never forget your old colleagues. They can lead you onto great sort of links. And also never forget your coffee breaks. There are kitchens, there are cafes on campus. Many people that I've met at Southampton here don't actually know some of the people in the lab next door to them, the office just down the corridor. They pass them every morning, getting a coffee, getting a tea, sort of around about 10, 11 o'clock, having a short break, but they don't know these people. And just introducing yourself to them. I'm in an office just down the road from you. But I don't know who you are. This is who I am. This is what I'm researching. A great way to sort of start introducing yourself to others that are there. And finally, don't ignore your social and family. So your friendship circles, your family, they obviously have their own connections. They may be able to point you in the right direction to people you need to be communicating with. So it may not seem as though it's the most professional way, but they can lead to some of the best links. So your online networking. Now this can be a bit of a pitfall for people. There are countless online forums that exist out there. There are many, many networks that you can do. And just this slide here is just showing a few of the ones that exist. What I would recommend is before going out and getting yourself involved in online networking and creating profiles left, right, and center on various pages, that you actually do some research to find out which are the ones that are most appropriate to you at this current time, and maybe which are the ones down the line you need to be getting involved in. But you could end up spending easily 80–90% of your time just checking profiles, updating your status on various things. So would take this with a bit of caution that there are plenty out there, the likes of LinkedIn, for example, being one of the major professional ones, also LinkHigher itself with your CV uploads. I would sort of take into some consideration the vast number that are out there and what to really be investing your time in. So coming to your digital identity then, I'd like to ask the question really, have you Googled yourself?